Hello and welcome to Mortgage Solutions Television, today sponsored by Virgin Money. I'm Mortgage Solutions Group Editor Victoria Hartley. Now, the mortgage and housing markets have been the focus for much Treasury and political attention for some time now. The budget once again put the housing market at the centre of the debate with the help to Buy ISA. Then most lately, the 319-page Mortgage Credit Directive offering yet more regulation to get into working practice. Now, since then, the industry, as you might expect, has quietly retreated to pick apart the detail. But with no shortage of talking points, we assembled a panel of experts to try to crack open the key issues facing our market. Let's meet them. From Virgin Money, Peter Rogerson, its Commercial Director for Mortgages, and Richard Tugwell, Director of Intermediary Relationships. Also joining us is Robert Sinclair, Chief Executive of AMI and the AFB, Nigel Stockton, Financial Services Director at Countrywide, and finally, Jeremy Duncan, Director at Legal & General Mortgage Club. Welcome, everyone. I'm just keen to talk about the Help to Buy ISA, which was the rabbit out of the hat in the budget, which we've just seen. I'm just wondering, first of all, what the pros and cons are in terms of this announcement. Obviously, £3,000 to a first-time buyer, that's a lovely thing in itself, and certainly a fillip for the first-time buyer sector. But just wondering, the product, such as what we know about it so far, what are the pros and cons of this? Can I come to Peter, first of all, on this one? What was your initial take?
So we weren't expecting it, so it was a surprise on the day. I think we welcome any initiative that allows first-time buyers to meet the aspiration of home ownership. We're aware that the Help to Buy guarantee scheme has to come to an end at some point in the future, and at the moment that's penciled in for the end of next year. And we need to think about a variety of schemes to try and make sure we maintain the level of interaction we've got with first-time buyers. So we welcome the initiative. We need to work through the rules and make sure that we understand the implications of those rules. I think it will allow lenders to become innovative in terms of how they deliver both the savings product but link mortgage products over time. And as the rules become clearer, and we're going to work with government on how those rules will be implemented, I think we'll see some innovation. But we welcome the initiative, and anything that keeps first-time buyers in the market and allows us to offer first-time buyers a home ownership solution has got to be helpful to everybody.
That sounds right. We're talking about getting the message out that mortgages are available, trying to raise the profile of mortgages and advice, and making sure customers know what's available. Do you think perhaps the Help to Buy ISA might be a large part of that? What are your thoughts?
The biggest issue in sales, obviously running the largest UK's estate agency, is the fact that getting a deposit is hard for people, tough for people. So anything that helps them on their way to get to that. And at the heart of this is 95% lending. We need 95% lending throughout. Most of the people on this panel will have got on the housing ladder using a 95% product. And for first-time buyers, that is the essential piece. Now, Help to Buy 2 finishes at the end of next year, and we do need to make sure that we've got some consistency of approach. Fortunately, the market's very, very competitive at the moment, so I do think the market will drive some solutions in that space. But and then you've got to get your deposit, and the deposit, frankly, we've estimated that you'll probably be able to get onto the housing market a year sooner than you would have done without the Help to Buy ISA. And anything that encourages home ownership like that is something to be welcomed. Totally agree with Peter.
Anything that helps first-time buyers onto the ladder is got to be supported. The other thing is, however, it's going to take 3 years to raise that money. If the house prices have gone up by more than 3,000 over those 3 years, you're actually starting off a little bit behind the curve. So the solution is in addition to that, we need to build a lot more houses to keep the house price inflation down, to make the supply there, so the houses are there for the first-time buyers to buy and that they are affordable. If we don't do both together, the £3,000 will be a drop in the ocean. Yeah,
there are some issues about demand side versus the supply side. I mean, this is another demand solution. I do take issue with the fact that you need £3,000 though, because again, average price, 140, and 5% of 140 is 7, and 7,000. You don't need the full people. You do get into this London orientation if you're not careful, where you need the full 15,000, which in vast tranches of the country just isn't true. But yeah, I mean, totally. Again, I mean, L&G and ourselves have been quite vociferous about the fact that supply side, please now. You know, demand side, we've had, you know, funding for lenders help to buy one, help to buy two. We know about the ISA. We need some real action and a plan, as opposed to short-termism. And the trouble with housing, it takes longer than one government to sort out, and as a consequence of which, you don't get a very intelligent plan sometimes.
Okay, can I come back to the Virgin chaps as well? Just talk about, obviously, perhaps you're looking at offering one of these products. So where would you start, and what might it look like?
Well, it depends on the rules as to how we define it. The start point will be to offer the savings product to begin with, and you would expect us as a savings institution to want to do that. So we expect we will. And we would allow a customer to save both with inside the Help to Buy ISA wrapper, and for those who need a bigger deposit because they maybe they're in the southeast, then they would want to save outside of it as well. So we will develop a solution there. The issue then is how do we take that customer from a savings customer into home ownership, and how do we build that proposition to make it compelling for a customer? The government's clearly going to incentivise the customer through the bonus amount at the end of the term. We need to make sure as lenders, and not just ourselves but the wider lending community, that 95% products are available. And we need to make the transition from saving to into buying as easy as possible. And we intend working with the intermediary industry to make sure that proposition is effective. We know that first-time buyers need help. They need to understand what they're getting themselves into. Home ownership's not something you take lightly. And we believe we should talk to a customer on their savings journey as they move towards home ownership, so that when they're ready to jump, they're in a position they can do that, knowing what the pros and cons are. And we intend working with our partners to make sure that we have a compelling proposition.
Would you think the ISA to, let's say, because you couldn't really issue the rate if it's going to take you 3 years, but you could say, for example, you're going to get your best rate at the end of that 3 years. Is that something you could do?
I think there are so many permutations. Yeah. The most important thing is we need to understand the rules, and we're going to work with government and the industry over the next few months, making sure those rules become clear and we know what we can build and what we can't build. But I think competition in the market will allow us to do something innovative. I think lenders will want to be seen to support the initiative. And then there could be all sorts of added value components that make the proposition even more compelling than it might seem today. But I think lenders will be thinking quite creatively as we speak.
And it is early days, and I think you've got to applaud the government for the initiative for a start, because we've talked about it in lots of rooms in different forms over the last period, and here's some action that's causing the debate, which is great. I think the interesting thing for me from an intermediary point of view, and again we'll work closely with you as these things start to form, is how you'd see a customer coming in without a deposit getting onto that ISA ladder if the products are in place. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure, but I can see us helping people come in and look in, and then, you know, helping themselves set up the ISA and then move to the, because I agree with you, Peter. I think there's going to be incentives. I think you're going to have 20%, 20 bips off, whatever. You know, there's all sorts of things you can play around with, fees. You could play around fee-free, all the rest of it. So I just think, you know, we're open always. You know, don't just see us and perceive us as a sort of mortgage trick pony. There are other things that we can do, and anything that helps getting people onto the housing ladder from a sales point of view, obviously we want to encourage.
It's awareness and education, and that's our job as intermediaries, is to make sure that we're making the customer aware of what's available out there. We've done it with Help to Buy, we'll do it with Help to Buy ISA.
The good bit about this, I think, is that it will be a discipline that the customer has to adhere to. This £200 a month in a couple, £400 a month will prove to a lender that somebody's got a discipline of being able to afford this at the back end as well. And the fact that then it's got to be worked through to then get the government bonus means there's going to be a structure that the lender can see. And therefore, when they've got somebody that's got somebody who's been through that discipline, they'll feel much more comfortable about affordability into that product.
I
think it's got a lot of positives.
For a start, you'll be able to afford £400 a month with a bit of luck, because, you know, you'll have proved that for the last maybe 2.5 years. So, correct. I mean, it's absolutely, it's a really interesting point, and I just think it's quite exciting as well. I mean, it's the sort of thing that keeps you going, isn't it?
It's about enshrining that savings culture again, something that's been missing for a very long time.
It is, and it potentially helps us to work with you pre the mortgage. It's the client stage rather than the need for an application stage.